wanted to sort of update you on some new policy items in the CalFresh program, but also a reminder about some other important aspects of the program that we want folks to remember and be aware of out there. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a minute to really thank all of you for the work that you do. You're an integral part of this program. While we haven't got official participation numbers from recent years, the FNS Food and Nutrition Service participation numbers are always a little bit lagging time-wise, but we do believe that our participation is increasing, and you folks are a big part of that, especially in the area of getting increased participation by our elderly impoverished in California who need food security. So just wanted to take a minute out to really thank all of you for the work that you do. So I'm going to handle some of the items for Jamie for Policy Unit A. Big policy change that we've got coming up that will be effective April 1st, 2015 is a change to our drug felon policy. So for individuals convicted of a drug felony, years ago they were completely banned from the program, and then back in about 2005, I believe, we had a partial ban where we allowed individuals who had been convicted of possession or use. They had to meet certain criteria to be eligible. Effective April 1st, 2015, not only do those criteria go away, but also individuals convicted of a drug felony for sales, distribution, or manufacturing will also be eligible to the program if they meet all other conditions of eligibility. This is a pretty big change. This will happen in both CalFresh and in our TANF program in California, our CalWorks program. So welfare to work families will also, adults in welfare to work households will also now be eligible if they have prior drug convictions, felony convictions. So this is a really big change. We've been trying to get this for a long time. And we definitely are strategizing here on how to best roll out this program for households that are ongoing. Those individuals that were excluded as drug felons will be automatically added to the households effective April 1 for the April benefit issuance month. But where we will have difficulty is with individuals or groups in which all folks were excluded for being drug felons, how to effectively let those folks know. And so we're working on strategies on how to deal with that. And a possible role that assisters might play in that is making sure folks are aware of the April 1st, 2015 change. So even if they're not eligible over the next couple of months, to please come back and apply again in April 2015. So we'll be talking about that, and hopefully more news about that will get out to you folks as soon as possible. But we're definitely really happy about that change, and just trying to get the word out there about it. Another thing that policy unit is working on is redesign to our recertification process. So typically our CalFresh households are certified for 12 months, and they must complete a recertification in order to receive another certification period of typically 12 months. Right now in California, for some of you folks out there, you might already assist folks with recertifications, but for those that don't know, we require that the complete application be filled out by the household again. And that really, we view that as sort of difficult to accomplish, and really a lot of extra work that's not needed by both the household and the county itself processing the recertification. So we have developed a form application much shorter than the current CalFresh or multi-benefit application, the CF285 or SAWS 2+. And it looks more like the periodic report for our program. I know some assisters also help with periodic reports from time to time. It'll be a 3-page document that just sort of asks questions regarding whether there have been changes for the household. We believe this will really encourage more households to finish the recertification process and make it much easier for ongoing households to recertify. One other thing that we're going through right now with our stakeholder community, that includes advocates, county welfare departments, our automated systems that assist the counties in administering the program, and our welfare advocates, is work group to talk about expedited service. Expedited service is available to households that meet certain criteria to receive CalFresh benefits within 3 days in California. And it's an old policy. It's been around a long time, but there's definitely a lot of misconceptions and confusion that have developed over the years about the policy itself. And we really want to make sure that we're processing these applications timely and correctly, and that everybody sort of understands it. So the purpose of the work group is to sort of level set the policy across all 58 counties, and also to help with the timeliness to ensure that these households get benefits, to get best practices out there, and to make improvements to the data that we collect also to inform policy decisions in the future. A role that you folks play in that is, in California, we have a law that county welfare departments are supposed to orally inform households of expedited service. And one of the things that really helps as a point of first contact with a lot of our households that are considering applying, for you folks to also have materials to let folks know about expedited service. I'm sure many of you already do this, but we really want to stress this, that it's very important that when the application is submitted to the county, that the county is aware that this household is potentially entitled to expedited service. The counties are also required to screen those applications to know that, but every bit of making sure that they're aware of the emergency basis that food is needed on for this family, every way we can communicate that helps. So those are all of the items I really wanted to discuss that we're working on here in that policy unit. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dave Vidal to discuss some of the items in his policy unit.
Good afternoon, everyone. What I want to talk about is things that have been kind of major changes in the program over the past year. Since the last time Ryan and I talked to you folks. One of the primary changes has been as a result of the Agricultural Act that was passed, the Farm Bill. And I don't know to what level of awareness you folks have, so I'll just kind of give you a little background on the Heat and Eat program. The Heat and Eat program is a program in which anybody who receives a payment or received a payment from the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, received any kind of a payment from that program, which is administered in California through the Department of Community Resources and Community, what is it? CSD, Community Services and Development Department. Anyone who received any kind of a payment for LIHEAP, for energy assistance, for weather stripping, to help them pay high utility bills and so on, would be automatically eligible for our standard utility allowance in the computation of their CalFresh allotment. So in order to embrace that program, just last year, in fact, I believe it was January of 2013, we started a Heat and Eat program in California as a result of Assembly Bill 6, which mandated that we work out an agreement with community services to have part of the LIHEAP allocation that they receive from the federal government each year sent out to every CalFresh recipient in the state. And that minimal amount, as defined by the feds, actually a nominal amount, we chose to do 10 cents. So literally we had every CalFresh recipient and applicant in the state receive a 10-cent payment, which allowed them to have the standard utility allowance used in the computation of their CalFresh. That brought in hundreds of millions of dollars of federal food assistance into the state, helped a lot of our most needy families, obviously. This was viewed as sort of a, I'll use the word that has been bandied about in Congress, as a loophole that states were using to take advantage of to bring more federal SNAP dollars into the states. So in the Farm Bill, that nominal payment was raised to a minimum of $20.01. The intent of Congress was to try to get states to stop doing the Heat and Eat program. In fact, a lot of states have continued the program using their federal LIHEAP allocation, and most of these are states that are on the East Coast where the winters are particularly severe, and they've been ponying up that $20.01 from their LIHEAP allocation. In California, we chose to go a different way, which is to fund it out of state general fund and to target, rather than giving every single CalFresh household in the state, and right now I think we're looking at close to 2 million statewide in terms of the caseload, rather than, because that was prohibitively expensive from the LIHEAP allocation, we decided to target just those households that would benefit from receiving the standard utility allowance. That is, households that don't already receive it, households who are already receiving the maximum CalFresh allotment. They would be excluded. So we pared it down to about 300,000+ households that are going to receive this $20.01 payment once a year. This was funded through the governor's budget bill, and it ended up, I think, roughly $6 or $7 million in general fund is being spent on this program, which is still going to bring in an average of about somewhere between $50 and $60 a month in additional nutritional benefits to about 300,000 households in the state. That process is we're in the process of having that automated through our eligibility systems right now, but you should realize, or you should see, that a lot of the recipients that you're dealing with are going to be receiving an increased allotment each month as a result of this heat need program. Another thing I wanted to talk about also was part of the budget bill this year was the issue of modified categorical eligibility, which has been in place in California since about 2009. The United States Department of Agriculture allows states the option of participating in what's called broad-based categorical eligibility, and that allows us to have any household that receives a TANF-funded service or from a TANF program to have their resources in California excluded from consideration for eligibility. We had, households who have come in to apply when they've reached, their unemployment has expired. They've reached the point where they have no more income, but maybe they've saved a few $1,000s in the bank. They've got some retirement account, and that those folks were being excluded from the program because those resources were counted against them, because there is a limit in regulations for resources for a household of, I believe it's now $3,250. So through this modified categorical eligibility program, we had every household that met the gross income limit for CalFresh, which was 130% of the federal poverty level. If they received a TANF-funded service, which in California was in the form of a family planning brochure, those households would not have their resources cause them to be ineligible. And that had a fairly marked increase on the participation rate, that a lot of these households that would have been turned away were otherwise now made eligible. FNS allows states to go to a higher amount than 130% of the federal poverty limit, which is the SNAP limit. We can actually go up to 200% of the federal poverty limit in order to make people eligible for what's called in California modified categorical eligibility. That also went into place in July of this year. It's the budget bill was signed fairly late in June. We didn't have a lot of time to get the information out to counties, but and we understand through contact we've had with some of the food bank folks that some of the counties have not implemented yet, and they have been instructed through an all-county letter that we sent out that if they haven't had the process automated and implemented yet, they at least have to keep track of these folks that would otherwise be eligible since July 1st, who were denied or discontinued because their income exceeded that 130% threshold, and that those folks have to be made whole. Those counties have to find those cases and get these benefits to these folks if they're under the 200% limit. We expect that's going to have a fairly impressive impact on our participation rate also, and obviously getting more benefits out to needy families is a high priority. And I think Detta mentioned we'll take questions on these issues at the end. The last thing I wanted to touch on just briefly was the restaurant meals program. We are still encouraging that program to be expanded throughout as many counties as possible. It's a voluntary program that counties can opt into, in which homeless, elderly, and disabled households who are not regularly have access to cooking and food storage facilities are able to use their EBT card to purchase prepared meals at certain participating restaurants. We've added a couple of counties since we last talked, one being San Diego County, which has been very proactive in trying to get the program up and running and to get restaurants participating. Most of the major urban areas in the state are in counties that are currently participating in the restaurant meals program, and I would encourage you, if you're in any of those counties, then you can, by going to our website, you can find out which counties are participating, that you encourage folks who would otherwise possibly be eligible for the program, that is, they are homeless or they are in a household that consists of elderly and disabled members or their spouses, to make sure that they question the county when they go in to apply, or they go through you folks, to make sure that their EBT cards are coded for the restaurant meals program. We have mandated to counties in the letter we sent out this year that anyone who is eligible for the restaurant meals program in a participating county, that their EBT card be automatically coded so they don't have to specifically request that it be done. It's a new process for the counties. Some of them are doing better than others in terms of getting the cards coded, but I would encourage you, for the folks that you're helping, to make sure that they're aware that that program exists in those counties. And that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to turn it over to Larry Lewis.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a manager in Policy Unit C. My unit handles several areas, namely the E&T program, or the Employment and Training program, the newly created WINS program, which is one of the items I want to talk to you about, as well as with the E&T program, we're dealing also with the ABOD waiver. And then lastly, we also deal with the NVRA, or what's better known as the National Voter Registration Act. So my first topic I wanted to talk to you about is the WINS program, which stands for Work Incentive Nutritional Supplement Program. It is a very hot topic here at the Department of Social Services now. It is a program that is both assisting and it involves two programs. First, the CalWorks program, as well as us here in CalFresh. It is a program that is giving those folks who are non-assisted, which means they're on CalFresh only, giving those folks who are working the minimum federally allowed hours a $10 food nutritional supplement. And it gives it to them based upon certain criteria that they must have. First, foremost, not be on CalWorks. Second, have a child under the age of 18 living in the household, as well as working federal minimal work hours, the TANF work hour requirements. And this is definitely a program that is based upon the state's low work participation rate here in California for CalWorks. So we are assisting them with hopefully boosting the state's WPR in order to avoid what it could be a very high rate for not meeting the 50% work participation rate on the TANF side of the house. So this program was started back in, it was promulgated in state law and SB 1041, It started, began in June 1, 2014, and it had to be fully implemented by July 1st of this year. So we have all counties who are fully on board. We have gotten a large number of folks who are meeting, who are working in CalFresh. So a lot of people are getting this $10 benefit, and it is a monthly $10 benefit as long as the household meets the criteria. It is definitely the funds for this is funded through the state dollars, accounted through state MOE. Don't really, I guess I need to go into that, but it is funded through MOE funds, and we see that it definitely will help increase the WPR in the TANF world, or CalWorks. And then I guess we'll answer questions about that at the end, if you had any. Next is the ABOD waiver that we currently are under here in California. ABOD stands for able-bodied adults without dependents. Without, not with. Sometimes people get that W part mixed up. It's without. So currently, we've had this waiver for, I guess, 5 to 7 years now, due to our poor, our unemployment rate here in California due to the recession and all. So this work rule, or the ABOD work rule, went away, where people who are meet certain criteria of the ABOD rule could have their benefits for more than 3 months. Because if once this waiver does go away, and we think it is going away next year, the ABOD rule will come back into effect for many counties. Some counties will still not be under that, because there is another state law called SB 35, which puts in place certain standards that need to be met, or work surplus areas that would could possibly still qualify for a waiver. So certain areas may still qualify next year, and some won't. So currently under this waiver, we have people who are volunteering and to do certain activities in the counties where, if the waiver was gone away, these people would be mandatorily asked to participate in some type of work activity. But currently, we are all volunteer state right now, where if you are an ABOD and you can volunteer to do some activities, or you don't have to do any activity. So once this waiver does go away, we think next year, due to our lowering unemployment rate, several things will happen. This rule will go back into effect, where for some counties, people will only be allowed to receive CalFresh for 3 months out of a 36-month period. And that is going to, I think, drastically affect you folks out there, because there are going to be a lot of questions about it. It may be new to a lot of you out there as well. So we're going to be doing some training for both the counties and assisters and our other contractors, to get them and make them aware of what this ABOD rule is and how it will affect you going forward. The next federal fiscal year starts October 1, 2015. So we're gearing up for trainings, information to get out to folks, letting them know about this rule and how it is going to affect you. So be on the lookout for some information about that. Lastly, I'm going to talk to you about the National Voter Registration Act. With the elections coming up very soon, NVRA kind of was hot and heavy for a while. It always comes up hot and heavy during the election cycle. We just want to make sure that folks are letting potential clients and people who are applying know about the registration that is that county welfare offices and the people who are assisting them are required to let them know that they need to register, that they can register to vote. Okay. When people are doing it at the welfare offices, there are packets available to them in order to register to vote. When folks are doing their applications online, at the very end of them submitting, after they hit the submit button of submitting their application, they should be asked electronically through the 3 consortia, would you like to register to vote? And the counties are keeping track of that information, as well as the Secretary of State's office is keeping track of that information. So we think it's very important that you as sisters out there know about the Voter Registration Act as well. So when you are informing folks about turning in an application, letting them know that they can register to vote well. With that, I will end and turn it back over to Ryan.
So at this point, we're ready to take some questions. I would like to say, unfortunately, we've got a couple of have a meeting we have to go to at 2:30, but we're available until a few minutes before 2:30. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tony and Detta, our moderators, to ask questions.
Thank you so much, Ryan. So now we're going to go ahead and open the line for questions to be asked by the audience. If you would like to ask a question, please use the raise your hand function. And when you do, I'll go ahead and call on you and unmute your line so you can ask your question. All right, so Lola, we have a question from Jill Marie Bentley. I'm going to go ahead and unmute your line now. Jill Marie, go ahead. And just a reminder, if you are asking a question, please be sure that you're connected with a USB microphone or you're called in through the telephone. Otherwise, we won't be able to hear your question. Jill Marie, here's your opportunity to ask a question. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next person. If you'd like to ask a question later on, please feel free to raise your hand again. All right, it looks like we do not have any questions from the audience. This is the last call. Oh, there you go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call on Brian Nolan. Brian, go ahead. Brian, are you there? All right, looks like we have a couple of questions from Brian through the question box. So let's go ahead and ask a couple of these questions. The first question is there an estimated date for the redesign recertification application for it to be released?
Yeah, so there's not really a firm date yet. We've really worked hard on the application itself. We've also worked with our CalWorks partners on a multi-benefit version of the recertification redetermination version of the application. The next steps are really talking to the automated systems that program these kinds of changes to get a realistic sense of when it can be done. We hope to have it out on the street sometime within the next year. That's our goal. But it's something that we also don't want to rush out there with. It's a pretty big change from what's currently happening, and it's some pretty complicated automated programming also. So I can't give a firm date. But definitely we want to have it out there within the year.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan. And also we have a question from Stephanie Nishio. Stephanie, go ahead.
Hi. I was wondering if you could clarify what we are able to do around voter registration. Can we do more than just refer people to where they can register?
As of right now, I think that is all that we are asking you folks to do. I know Detta and I have had some conversations in regards to this, and currently, our legal has said that you as sisters are not required to really advise folks on the registration aspect of things, to refer them to their county office to get them registered to vote.
So even though it's not a requirement, we have some folks who would like to be helping people register to vote. Is that okay?
I think that's good. I think that's a good thing to do. It's not saying that you're not required to do it. I think it is a good thing to do.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Would you be willing to put that in an email?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I will work through Detta and Tony to get that to folks.
Perfect. Thank you, Larry. So we do have numerous questions through the question box, so I want to be respectful of the folks that asked the questions. So I'm just going to go.
Tony, I'm going to interrupt Larry for a minute there and say that we need to look into this because there's other issues, and we need to make sure that we're not having our application assister folks doing something that we can't reimburse them for. So we need to have a further discussion on this. But thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dana. All right, so the next question is, when will the new forms be rolled out?
Can you repeat the question?
The question is, when will the new forms be rolled out?
For the recertification redesign?
Yes.
Okay, I think I just answered that question.
Yeah.
We're not absolutely sure, but we hope to have within the next year.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, will households that are between 130% and 200% who have been denied be given retro benefits to the date of application?
Yeah, this is David. That is definitely our intent. That was the language that we included in our all-county letter we sent out. We have, as I kind of alluded to, been notified that there are some counties that are having some difficulties in that regard, and we are actively talking to those counties to make sure that they comply with the statute. We have a monthly meeting with the California Welfare Directors Association. Our meeting is next week, and I do plan on stressing this point once again, that this is in statute, that these folks have to be made whole. And by saying these folks have to be made whole, we mean getting them restored benefits back effective to July 1 as quickly as is administratively possible. We don't want to, bust them over the head with workload that they can't keep up with because there's a lot of other changes going on, but we do want, this is a very high priority.
Yeah, and again, it's, with some statutory changes, there's given so little time for the counties to respond. This law was signed into effect June 24th, effective July 1st. So it was a very fast implementation and really no automated support on that. And county's been doing what they can. It's very important to the department. It's very important for our households out there. Counties are definitely working on it. The automated systems are definitely working on it. And as Dave mentioned, as soon as can be done, those households will be made whole.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question is, how do we find out if our county is participating in the restaurant meal program?
I went and got, we'll send out the link to our website that has links to each county welfare department, website, and hopefully that information is on the county website. I do have a list of the ones that are currently participating. I think this is up to date. There's 7 counties: Alameda, Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Diego, San Francisco, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Clara are all participating currently in the program. LA's is clearly by far the biggest well, not only the biggest in the state, it's by far the biggest in the country. They have something like 1,200 participating restaurants, with another couple thousand restaurants that are on a waiting list trying to get involved. So, as I said earlier, that covers most of the urban areas of the state, and I believe that's current. But we'll make sure that the link to the website is sent out to everybody.
Thank you, Dave. So we just have a few more questions. Next question is there a way to flag applications in My Benefit CalWin to identify clients who may be eligible for expedited services?
That's not a question we can answer. That's a question for the automated systems or the CalWin counties. We can look into that and maybe respond through outreach, but we're not sure if they have a method for doing that. Here, that's very much a county business process.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, let's go ahead and see the next questions. Do you have any specifics available regarding the Farm Bill restrictions on federally or state-funded outreach?
Tony, this is Detta. And the biggest change that the Farm Bill really affected outreach, there was two changes. One doesn't really affect our program because of how we're administered, but that's a pay-for-application methodology. And since we're really not, we're using it as a budgetary device, but not a straight pay-for-app. The other change in the Farm Bill really had to do with the use of media, advertising, radio spots, bus ads, transit ads, billboards, and the like. USDA disallowed any expenditures on those items, and so we're not allowed to spend money on advertising, unfortunately, and that was probably the biggest change that the Farm Bill initiated for this year.
Perfect, thank you, Detta. And the last question that we have is, if our counties are not currently set up to implement some of these changes, would you like us to report this? And if so, how would you like us to let you know?
Well, we definitely want to know. The way I've been getting notified is by someone who's actually on the call, who I don't know if that person wants to give their name and number out. But yeah, we definitely need to know if counties are not complying with our mandates. I don't know, Ryan, what would be the optimal method for this to be found out? I mean,
Is there well, I have a question for our outreach folks. Is there a general outreach mailbox?
Yes, we do have a CalFresh outreach mailbox, the CalFresh Access mailbox, but also we can probably handle a lot of those concerns when we do our bi-monthly calls, and that way we can talk about it on our bi-monthly calls as well, and that might be a better venue.
Okay.
We want to establish trust between, our outreach staff and the county staff, so it's one of those things where it's a little bit of a slippery slope.
Thank you, Detta. And we still have one more. So MCE is still based on the receipt of the family planning brochures. If so, how is that brochure received by the applicant?
Yeah, it is. It's still based on publication 275, and it is given to all applicants at the county level with the application packets. And I want to go back to the previous question too. You could also call the CalFresh branch main line if you have issues with counties not implementing those policies. The phone number is 916-654-1896. So the answer to both, it's still done through the Pub 275 to give the TANF-funded service to the households. It's given by the counties at intake, in intake packets, and what's that?
And at recertification.
Oh, and at recertification. I almost forgot. Thanks, Dave. And then again, our number here, if you want to report those changes outside of the calls Detta talked about, or the CalFresh Outreach website, is 916-654-1896.
Thank you, Ryan. Next question is, what about the definition of outreach designed to persuade in the restricted outreach activity under the Farm Bill?
Tony, Is that a duplicate question?
I do not believe so. It was one that just popped up just 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
All right, so this is Ryan. We've got to get ready and head to that other meeting. I apologize. You know, all of the questions that were asked, if there were any that weren't responded to, we will respond to them through our outreach bureau friends and get those responses out to you folks. Really appreciate the opportunity today. Hope this was helpful. And again, don't hesitate if you have any further questions to get those to us through outreach or by calling that number that I mentioned. You know, we want to make sure everybody's really understanding these policy changes, and we will also, you know, they're not great reading, but along with the website for the RMP, if folks are interested, we can get the links to the all county letters that implemented these policy changes.
They're great reading.
They're a fun read, but you know, those will probably help answer some questions as well, and probably raise some more questions. So again, thanks so much for everyone's time, and we'll respond to any questions we haven't responded to yet. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ryan. This is Detta. I wanted to thank our policy folks. There's several questions that we didn't get to, 3 or 4 that we didn't get to as far as the questions. So we'll continue to parking lot those, and we will get back to you on those and on the responses. So I wanted to thank you. I'm going to turn it back to Tony to close it out.
Thank you, Detta. And again, thank you everyone for the accommodation today. We understand we had a little bit of technical difficulties with the GoToWebinar program, and was very happy that we're able to continue with the webinar today. As Detta mentioned, we will take a look at all the questions that was submitted, and we will post the questions and the answer onto our website, along with the recording as well, so that if any of your subcontractors or staff that was unable to make it to today's webinar, they'll be still able to access the recording. Again, thank you very much for attending today's webinar. This concludes the webinar today. You have a great day.